This video covers the behavior of the window flags in raylib 5.5 as they appear on the platform desktop GLFW. Some platforms will not have all of these flags defined, and so it is up to you to try them on the target of your choice. I will be providing the source to this project, so it should be easy to clone, build, and see for yourself what their effects are. Especially given that many of these flags relate specifically to the behavior of the window and the state of the window. When you're talking about a platform that doesn't necessarily have a window, or the way that the GPU context is completely different, then these might do nothing. It's going to be up to the implementer of that platform's backend to decide if anything should happen when these flags are set. All the relevant flags can be found in a single enum definition called ConfigFlags in raylib.h. Some of these flags pertain to the state of the window itself. We have window resizable, undecorated, hidden, minimized, maximized, unfocused, topmost. Others are more directly affecting the app state, like the VSync hint, Fullscreen mode, window always run, and so on. Some flags will need to be set before init window is called, as they cause hard forks in the initialization of the window, and as such must be set using setConfigFlags. Other flags will have no effect if called before the window is created, and instead should be called with setWindowState. At the time of making this video, the latest release is raylib 5.5, and the only flags which must be set using setConfigFlags are transparency, HighDPI, MSAA 4x, and interlacing. These four flags have very specific use cases and are likely not what you're here for, and so I'll cover them after I've covered the more common flags. They're also more annoying to cover since we need to reboot the window every single time we want to see the effect. This simple demo that I've created uses RayGUI to create a number of buttons which will allow us to see the current state of the window flags as well as click on them in order to toggle the state. Here in this demo, we'll see both types represented. The ones that are in gray are the ones that we can change while the window is running, and the ones that are highlighted in pink here are the ones that we need to reboot the window for. This button, window hidden, it does very bad things. I'm going to click on this. The window has disappeared. It's no longer on my taskbar. I can't Alt-Tab to it. There's really only two ways to destroy it at this point. If you ran it from a terminal, then you can just use Control-C to kill the process. You can open Task Manager and go to Details, and you can find it in here somewhere. Or because I'm running this from Notepad++, I can just press F6 to trigger the npp exec, and I can send the kill signal from here. So we're not going to talk about window hidden right now. It's kind of an odd one. VSync behaves how you'd expect. It enables GLFW's included VSync implementation, which will restrict the refresh rate of the app to the refresh rate of your display. If I enable an FPS counter, then we'll see that the app is running at many thousands of frames per second because, I mean, really it's just drawing a few buttons in a void. There's nothing here. But if we click VSync hint, then we'll see it drop down to 165, which is the refresh rate of my monitor. Some interesting things to note here. If I drag this over to my 60 Hz monitor, it remains at 165. If I try toggling the hint while it's on the 60 Hz monitor, it remains at 165. But for most applications, people are going to run their game on their primary monitor. It's not a problem. Most people turn VSync off anyway. Fullscreen mode toggles an exclusive full screen which will automatically scale the output of the app to fit the smallest dimension of your screen and use black bars to avoid skewing the aspect ratio of the original output. If you're rendering at a considerably smaller resolution than the resolution of the display, some clear blurring and distortion will be present. This is generally unavoidable without careful custom logic. If you're expecting to be able to set a flag and have your raylib game be fully responsive to resizing, that's not possible. However, if you consider scalability from the start of the game's development, it is possible to have very responsive resizing. This is much easier with 3D games as well, where you're working with cameras, viewports, and, sort of changing the size of the window will change the size of the viewport, which may have small impacts on FOV, but mostly everything's being rendered in a 3D environment, so changing the frame buffer is actually easy. That's something that we'll cover in a later video. It's a very interesting topic. If you plan on using full screen in your raylib projects for now, at least consider using getCurrentMonitor, getMonitorWidth, and getMonitorHeight to figure out what the resolution of the screen that you're actually going to be setting to full screen is so that you can resize the window appropriately. As we can clearly see here, if I click full screen mode, there's a bit of a goofy refresh, and we're actually not even really seeing it on the recording here because it just doesn't really know how to handle it. Okay, there we go. That's what I'm seeing right now. So it's stretching the image, so there is a little bit of fuzziness happening here in the characters. My cursor is a little bit bigger than normal because typically this is a 1440 display, but the size of this window is 1024, so we're seeing a bit of a different scale. And then of course we have the black bars on the edges, and if I allow my mouse to pass the edge of this window, then it actually switches to my next monitor. It's worth noting that raylib has a toggle full screen function, and actually the way this demo is set up, we're calling set window state with the full screen flag, but that just calls toggle full screen. So calling set window state with full screen is probably not what you want to do. It's really that you want to call toggle full screen, and is window state will tell you if you're in full screen. That's probably the real utility here. The same can be said for this one down here, borderless windowed. We're kind of going out of order now, but this is probably the full screen that you will actually want. It's the more common choice among gamers, especially with having Discord on the second monitor and things like that. It's much less jarring. So if I click borderless window, it's pretty much immediate. Of course, my recording needs a second to catch up, but as you can see, oh wow, it's really, every time I tab in and out of the monitor, it flickers. Borderless window here, we can actually see it's enabled a few of the other flags. It's enabled window undecorated, window topmost, and that's a little bit unusual, just to be clear, because I've played a number of games with borderless window, and I can still drag other windows in front of it. You know, I mean, again, the recording's all biffed up for this, but I'm trying to drag windows in front. You can see my cursor. I'm holding a window, but it's just not going to appear over top because we have window topmost. So you can actually disable this and it will still work, and the taskbar doesn't seem to appear on top of it. You know, of course, you can toggle borderless window and then you can just manually disable topmost if you don't want it on your game. But anyway, this is kind of a common implementation of full screen in games. These next few ones are really basic window control flags. They all probably do exactly what you expect. We have resizable. So if I click on this, we can see the top of the window changes just a little bit here. And now I can actually click and drag, and we can see that the game, first of all, there's a secret familiar face underneath this window bar apparently. So you'll notice that the demo here is not stretching, and actually I can shrink it and we just can't access these lower buttons anymore. Again, this is like anything where you're talking about changing the size of the window or changing the shape of it. You're going to have some special code in your game to pay close attention to that and listen to those changes. You can always find out if the window has been resized or find out if the size has changed by polling the size, and you'll have to be responsive. And that's all stuff you're going to have to write yourself. You're not going to be seeing that taken care of, except for with maybe a really elaborate UI library that you include. Window undecorated removes this decoration from the top here, where I can right click and I can move the window. If I click on this, then that disappears. So now we can't actually move the window anymore or resize it. So resizable could be on. I can no longer resize it because we need that decoration. It's worth noting that the Windows Shift, and then you can use right and left to jump to different monitors. That still works here. Minimized and maximized, I mean, if you would like to immediately trigger the window to minimize on the user, it can be done. But these are probably more useful as something to check with is window state and find out, is the window minimized? Is it maximized? Though window maximized can be helpful. If we have resizable enabled, then I can maximize the window and then I can do undecorated. And we've almost got like our own little borderless window. Window unfocused, if I click on a different window here, we'll see it light up. So that's telling us whether or not the user has the window as their primary focus. Next, we have window topmost. So I use PowerToys. So I actually have the ability to set a window to be topmost anyway. It plays that little chime and it gives a very subtle outline. And now I can drag something else and I can put focus on a different window and this will persist, which is very helpful for a lot of the things that I like to do. Topmost, when I click this button, is the same pipeline, or at least it has common ancestry with the one that PowerToys is using, except that when PowerToys changes the state of the window, there's no way for the raylib core to be notified of that change, or at least it's not implemented to check that. So not going to affect any sort of game, but just kind of interesting. Window always run prevents the window from pausing when it's minimized. Now, obviously, if you can't see the window, then it doesn't really have an effect, but if you're building like an idle game of some sort, maybe the user's going to minimize while they work, and then they're going to come back and they want to see the change. So they would be pretty disturbed to find out the game didn't tick even once the whole time it was minimized. So actually a good way to show this is something that plays music. So this is the sound demo from the sound overview video. So I can play the music, and if I minimize it, music stops. So all I need to do is go into main here. After we've initialized the window, I need to set window state. So I can toggle the music, I minimize, and the music continues. You'll notice there's a little bit of a hitch. So Maybe there is some kind of brief little chug that happens as we're minimizing. It's not really clear. On the subject of idle games, here is something that is pretty popular with a lot of these games lately, is having a transparent window. So this is one of the pink flags, so we need to set it and then reboot the window. So I'll just apply window transparency here. I'm going to go ahead and close the app and run it again. And we can see now, we can see right through to the desktop or to the terminal or the code or whatever it is. Typically, if you're going to do something like this, you're definitely going to want to pair it with always run and Topmost, just in case it does get minimized. That way, you know, as I'm clicking into my other stuff to see the interaction, I'm not losing this window. This one, of all the pink flags, has the clearest utility to me. I've seen a number of games that clearly rely on this feature, especially consider we have this, then we make it undecorated, and then we allow mouse pass-through, and now it's like we have an overlay, right? You can build your own custom overlays. I'm sure that you can immediately see the utility of something like this. Something to note with the mouse pass-through is that now that I've enabled mouse pass-through, I actually have no way of interacting with the app. I'm clearly clicking on the buttons, and it's not working. Even if I select the app deliberately from the taskbar, I'm clicking and I'm still not able to affect the state of the app. What I actually need to do is think ahead about the scenario and implement, as we can see here in main C, if key is pressed escape, it's going to clear the pass-through window state. So if I select the window in the taskbar and then press escape, now we have our control back and I can, now we have our control back and we can actually move the window around. And it is worth mentioning that full screen mode does not work with this transparent background, and neither does borderless window, at least not the way that it's set up, again, with GLFW. But as I've already stated, you can get pretty close to borderless window. We just need to set the window resizable, maximize, and then undecorated. And that's pretty close to a borderless window anyway. If you want a full screen overlay, keep in mind we're not truly full screen. There's a tiny sliver at the top that isn't the window that I can still click on, but there's set window position in raylib. You can easily nudge it up into the top left corner and set the size manually to be the size of the window. So the mouse pass-through flag isn't clever enough on its own to detect if your cursor is interacting with something that belongs to the app or not. That's obviously something you're going to have to write yourself. Probably not going to want to do a pixel check, because not only can it be expensive depending on a variety of factors, it's also not really great design, because oftentimes, especially when there's little gaps in graphics or in buttons, you probably want the hitbox of the button to be something that's determined completely separately from the visuals. If you can settle for having the overlay be visual only and requiring the user to actually tab into the app and then press a key in order to gain control of the overlay again, then you could build an overlay right now. Window transparency is also a bit of a contentious feature. It's very driver sensitive. When I was creating this video, I tested this feature and the background appeared black, which meant that the transparency wasn't really working. For instance, if you try to draw the background as blank when transparency is disabled, it looks the same way. I had to go down this crazy rabbit hole to figure out what the problem was, and at the end of the day, it was a driver update. Funny thing, I go to record the video today, same issue. But instead of downloading a new driver, there is no new driver, I just updated a couple days ago, I ran the same driver installer and it started working again. So probably I need to run DDU and clean up my drive and get rid of the remnants of the old drivers, because it's possible that when Windows boots, it's booting into an older driver and I need to kind of wake it up with that installer. But in any case, window transparency is not something you can assume is going to work even on other Windows machines. All of that to say, if you're going to design a game around this feature, absolutely include a way to override it, to use a solid color, allow them to set the solid color, use an INI that they can edit, because if the app is not working properly, they might not be able to go through the menus. Make sure that there's something they can do. Launch options, something. For the rest of these pink flags here, they're all going to be very hard to show on the video. HighDPI is relevant if you have any sort of scaling settings in Windows. This is a 1440 display, so I'm not using any scaling, but if it was 4K, it's not uncommon to see like 125% as the scaling. I'm talking, of course, about in-display settings. Right here, you can change scale and layout. If you have a custom scaling set in Windows and then you open a raylib window, it's going to be the same size. It's not actually going to scale to be proportional with the screen. If you need the window to be a specific size in pixels and then the scaling settings are changed, it's not actually going to render at that size anymore. It's going to render at proportionally, it's going to take up the same amount of size. So if it's 1024 by 1024, so this is the size of the window. If I change the scaling settings so that windows are supposed to appear larger, and then I run this app again, it's not going to appear larger. It's going to be the same size. So you might need to use this feature depending on what you're developing. MSAA 4X is also something that I can't really show. This is like a 2D menu demo. It doesn't really apply here. It's more something that is relevant with a 3D project. Multi-sampled anti-aliasing is supposed to help with diagonal lines and sort of jagged edges. You know, there's a lot of great videos about chain link fences and how multi-sampling can actually help with that. There's post-process approaches to anti-aliasing, and then there's ones that are actually part of the render process. Multi-sample AA is the good one. It's part of the actual render process. So we need to tell GLFW or whatever backend it is you're using to enable that feature. If you look at the examples included in the raylib source, especially under shaders, then almost every single one of these is going to use MSAA. So we can see basic lighting, set ConfigFlags, we have post-processing, set ConfigFlags. This one's got resizable, doesn't use it, so that's interesting. And then this one uses it again. So, I mean, a lot of the examples are going to include it. It's just one of those things, if you have a 3D project and your PC can handle it, may as well turn it on. It will improve clarity. Maybe on very, very low-end systems, it will have a huge impact on performance or not do anything. And speaking of not doing anything, the last flag here, which is Interlaced hint, this flag is only implemented by the Raspberry Pi backend, which I think is called DRM here. It's really relevant for if you have like an embedded display that needs an interlaced output, like very small, very specific embedded displays are going to require something like that. Otherwise, the image doesn't get displayed properly. This is not something you're going to have to worry about unless you're developing on Raspberry Pi. So you can feel free to set it and unset it every other frame, just to feel something. I don't know. Some of these flags you will see again in upcoming videos because some of them are going to be killer apps for particular types of things. Like I said, the transparent window, that's great for an overlay, as well as always on top. And then, of course, the full screen and resizable, those are great for talking about responsive design. I talked at the start about how we have set config flags, and we also have set window state, and how it's a very specific condition under which you need to use each. Ray suggests that the whole two-sided flag system is not really working. It's obviously confusing. The fact that we need so many logs around it is not super helpful. So it probably will face some kind of a redesign at some point. If that happens soon, I'll have a pinned comment with an addendum. As for the demo itself, the first link in the description will go to the repo. You can clone it, build it yourself, see how the flags behave on your system, see how they behave on your target system. As for the demo, I've shown you how it works, but I also have a repo here that actually has all of the source that we just showed, as well as basically the script that I've used for this video, a summary of my experience with each of the flags. So if you want to try using any of these flags in a project, feel free to clone this repo, test the flags on your target platform before you invest a bunch of effort in assuming that it's going to work. And if there's anything that I missed or any questions that you have about any of the flags shown here, just leave a comment below and I'll do my best to respond. And if it's a huge thing that I missed, then again, I'll post a pinned comment with an addendum or I'll make a follow-up video. Thanks for watching.